Let us know where you're watching from today, as we share a story about how one of baseball's greatest legends turned a moment of disrespect into an unforgettable lesson in humility and grace. When Cal Ripken Jr. arrived at the Hamilton Youth Sports Complex for what should have been a routine ceremony, no one could have predicted how the afternoon would unfold, or how his response to an unexpected insult would leave an entire audience in tears. The complex buzzed with activity on that warm spring afternoon. The newly renovated baseball field gleamed under the sunshine, its pristine condition a testament to decades of community investment in youth sports. Parents, coaches, and young players filled the wooden bleachers, their excitement palpable as they awaited the ceremony to rename the field in honor of a local youth baseball pioneer. Among the distinguished guests was Ira Maddox, a wealthy tech entrepreneur who had recently moved to the area. His donation had made the field's renovation possible, and he sat prominently in the front row, wearing an expensive suit that seemed out of place among the casual baseball attire of the other attendees. Beside him, his associate Maisie James scrolled through her phone, both of them appearing more interested in their devices than the community gathering around them. The ceremony began as planned, with Youth League President Lachlan Drew welcoming the crowd and acknowledging the various contributors who had made the field's transformation possible. In the back of the crowd, Cal Ripken Jr. stood quietly, dressed in a simple blue blazer and khakis. Few had noticed his arrival. He had slipped in without fanfare, exactly as he had requested. The mood shifted subtly when Maddox took the podium. His speech, meant to be about community and youth sports, quickly turned into a self-congratulatory monologue about his own success. The audience grew restless as he detailed his business achievements, barely mentioning the young athletes the field was meant to serve. Then came the moment that would change everything. As Maddox concluded his speech, he noticed Cal standing quietly at the back. Rather than showing respect for the baseball legend, the tech entrepreneur's face twisted into a dismissive smirk. "I see we have some old-timers in the audience," he remarked, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent crowd. "Though I suppose today's kids probably don't even know who you are anymore." The disrespect in his tone was unmistakable. In the front row, field manager Kendrick Shaw tensed, while youth coach Tobias York shook his head in disbelief. But Cal's expression remained unchanged, his legendary composure evident even in this unexpected moment of disrespect. Maddox, emboldened by Cal's silence, continued. "Baseball's changed, hasn't it? These days it's about innovation, technology, data analytics. The old ways, the old records. They don't mean much in the modern game." His words hung in the air like a challenge, each one more disrespectful than the last. Young players in the audience looked between Cal and Maddox with confusion. One of them, 12-year-old Levi Brooks, clutched his well-worn baseball glove tightly, his eyes wide as he watched his hero being mocked. The tension grew as Maddox gestured for Cal to come forward. "Maybe you'd like to say a few words? Tell us about how the game used to be played." His tone was patronizing, his smile cruel. In the crowd, former minor league player Maddox Price whispered to those around him about Cal's incredible achievements, his voice tight with anger at the disrespect being shown. Cal made his way to the podium with the same quiet dignity that had characterized his entire career. Each step was measured, purposeful, just like the thousands of games he had played consecutively, setting a record that many believed would never be broken. The crowd held its breath as Cal took his position behind the microphone. Nolan Carrick, a local sports reporter, leaned forward in his seat, pen poised over his notebook. Everyone waited to see how the Iron Man of baseball would respond to such blatant disrespect. What happened next would be remembered by everyone present for years to come. Cal's response would not only silence his critic but would also remind everyone about the true spirit of baseball and the power of handling disrespect with dignity. The tension in the air was electric as Cal had just the microphone. Youth League. Coordinator Owen Thatcher watched intently, knowing that the next few moments would either escalate the conflict or transform it into something meaningful. In the bleachers, Parker Vance, a longtime youth baseball volunteer, silently prayed that the children present would learn the right lesson from whatever was about to unfold. As Cal began to speak, his voice carried the weight of thousands of games played, countless challenges overcome, and a lifetime dedicated to baseball. His words would not only address Maddox's disrespect but would also touch on something much deeper: the true meaning of dedication, perseverance, and respect for the game. Have you ever witnessed someone handle disrespect with unexpected grace? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. The way Cal Ripken Jr. responds to this moment of disrespect will remind us all about the power of dignity in the face of arrogance. In the tense silence that followed Ira Maddox's disrespectful remarks, Cal Ripken Jr.'s voice emerged calm and clear, carrying the same steady strength that had defined his entire career. Rather than addressing Maddox directly, he turned his attention to the young players seated in the front rows, his eyes connecting with each of them as he began to speak. Head coach Quade Benson, who had worked with many of these young athletes, watched as Cal's words started to weave a spell over the audience. The baseball legend spoke not of records or achievements, but of early morning practices, of countless hours in the batting cage, of learning from failure and getting back up after every setback. In the bleachers, Remy Doyle, a longtime baseball historian, listened intently as Cal shared stories from his early days in the sport. He spoke of his father's influence, of teammates who had supported him, and of the community that had helped shape his character. Each word seemed carefully chosen to counter Maddox's emphasis on money and technology with something more fundamental: the human spirit of the game. Sterling West, the Youth League's equipment manager, noticed how the young players leaned forward in their seats, completely captivated. Cal's story of showing up every day, of playing through injuries and exhaustion, of never letting his team down, resonated deeply with these aspiring athletes. His consecutive games streak wasn't just a record. It was a testament to dedication and responsibility. The transformation in the audience was remarkable. Even Uriel Clayton, a skeptical parent who had initially agreed with some of Maddox's points about modernizing the game, found himself nodding along as Cal explained how the fundamental values of baseball remained unchanged. Technology might enhance the game, but it could never replace the human elements of perseverance, teamwork, and character. As Cal continued, he shared a story he had never told publicly before. He spoke about a time early in his streak when he had been tempted to take a day off, when the pressure seemed too much. But then he remembered a young fan he had met, a boy fighting cancer who found inspiration in Cal's consistency and determination. That boy's courage had given Cal the strength to continue, showing him that his example meant more than any personal comfort. In the front row, Maddox's smug expression had been replaced by something else, a dawning realization of how badly he had misjudged the moment. Beside him, his associate Maisie James had put away her phone, finally understanding that they were witnessing something more significant than a simple ceremony. Youth player Brody Stanton, clutching his baseball glove, wiped tears from his eyes as Cal described the responsibility that came with being part of a team. The legend's words about showing up every day, about being someone others could count on, struck a chord with everyone present. This wasn't just about baseball, it was about life itself. Dean Whitmore, the complex's groundskeeper, noticed how even the most restless kids had fallen silent, hanging on Cal's every word. The Iron Man spoke about respect. Respect for the game, for teammates, for opponents, and most importantly, for oneself. His message transcended sport, touching on universal truths about character and integrity. The power of Cal's response lay not in confrontation but in elevation. Rather than engaging with Maddox's disrespect, he transformed the moment into a lesson about what truly matters in both sports and life. His voice carried no anger, no defensiveness. Only the quiet authority of someone who had lived the principles he was sharing. As he concluded his initial remarks, Cal turned his attention to a group of local Little League players who had stayed late after practice to be part of the ceremony. He spoke directly to them about the joy of the game, about finding purpose in dedication, about the honor of being part of baseball's continuing story. The impact on these young athletes was profound. Heath Montgomery, their assistant coach, could see the change in their expressions, the realization that they were part of something larger than themselves, a tradition that valued character over statistics, heart over technology. In the press area, sports journalist Keaton Wells struggled to capture in words the atmosphere that had descended over the complex. This wasn't just a response to disrespect, it was a masterclass in grace, wisdom, and the true meaning of athletic achievement. Marcus Ellery, a former minor league player who now worked with youth programs, watched as Cal's words began to change the very nature of the ceremony. What had started as a moment of tension was transforming into an opportunity for genuine connection and learning. The legend's next words would particularly resonate with Noah Sinclair, a talented young pitcher who had been struggling with the pressure of expectations. Cal spoke about how records and statistics were just numbers, what mattered was the daily commitment to improvement, to being there for your team, to giving your best even when no one was watching. As Cal's speech continued, it became clear that he was doing more than just responding to one person's disrespect. He was ensuring that this moment would have lasting impact beyond the ceremony. His words about perseverance, dedication, and respect would be remembered by everyone present, especially the young athletes who represented baseball's future. Preston Gray, who had helped organize the event, realized that they were witnessing something extraordinary. This wasn't just damage control after an awkward moment, it was a transformation of that moment into something powerful and inspiring. The response from the crowd grew more emotional as Cal shared personal stories about the meaning behind his streak. He spoke about the fans who had supported him, the teammates who had inspired him, and the family that had grounded him. Each anecdote served to illustrate larger truths about character, commitment, and community. In the back row, Quinton Shaw, a veteran baseball scout, listened with growing appreciation as Cal connected his own experiences to the challenges faced by young players today. The message was clear: while the tools and technology of the game might change, the core values remained constant. Have you ever seen someone transform a moment of conflict into an opportunity for teaching and inspiration? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. Cal's response continues to unfold, showing us all how true legends handle disrespect with grace and wisdom. As Cal Ripken Jr.'s words continued to resonate through the Hamilton youth sports complex, a remarkable transformation began to unfold. Rowan Blackwell, the complex's photographer, captured the moment when Ira Maddox's teenage son quietly removed his expensive headphones, his attention finally caught by Cal's stories of persistence and dedication. The boy's face reflected what many were feeling, a growing understanding that true greatness isn't measured by wealth or technology, but by character and commitment. Seth Brantley, a once promising player whose career had been cut short by injury, found himself nodding in agreement as Cal spoke about baseball's deeper lessons. The legend shared how his famous streak wasn't really about the record, it was about being someone others could count on, about showing up every day ready to give your best, regardless of circumstances. The impact of Cal's words spread through the audience like ripples in a pond. Tate Winslow, a local business owner who had been considering cutting his youth league sponsorship, pulled out his phone and began taking notes. The values Cal spoke about, reliability, dedication, teamwork, weren't just baseball principles, they were fundamental to success in any field. Young athletes in the audience were particularly moved when Cal addressed them directly about handling pressure. He spoke about the weight of expectations during his streak, not to boast, but to connect with their own struggles. His message about focusing on daily effort rather than end results resonated deeply with Vaughn Mercer, a talented shortstop who had been struggling with perfectionism. The ceremony's original purpose, to rename the field, had evolved into something far more meaningful. Wyatt Callahan, the complex's maintenance supervisor, watched as even the most restless kids sat transfixed. Cal's stories about learning from failure, about the importance of preparation, about respecting the game and your opponents, were transforming their understanding of what it meant to be an athlete. Zeke Hamilton, who ran the local sporting goods store, recognized how Cal's message about equipment being just tools, not substitutes for hard work and practice, could change how young players approached the game. The legend's emphasis on fundamentals and dedication over expensive gear and technology struck a particularly powerful chord. In the press box, Jonas Crow typed furiously, knowing he was documenting more than just a ceremony. Cal's response to disrespect had become a masterclass in leadership and character. The story wasn't about conflict anymore, it was about transformation and the enduring values of baseball. As Cal continued, he shared heartfelt stories about his father, a minor league manager, who had taught him the importance of respect for the game, for teammates, for opponents, and most importantly, for oneself. Easton Hale, a veteran coach who had worked with generations of young players, saw tears in the eyes of several parents as they recognized the timeless wisdom in these lessons. The impact on Ira Maddox became increasingly evident. The tech entrepreneur's earlier arrogance had been replaced by a look of genuine reflection. When Cal spoke about how true innovation in baseball came from understanding and building upon its traditions, rather than dismissing them, Maddox's expression showed a dawning recognition of his own misguided attitude. A powerful moment came when Cal invited several young players to join him at the podium. He asked each to share what they loved about baseball, turning what could have been a monologue into a dialogue about the game's enduring appeal. Their answers about friendship, about learning to overcome failure, about the joy of playing, proved that the game's essential nature remained unchanged despite technological advances. The ceremony took another unexpected turn when Cal acknowledged the importance of the complex's support staff. He spoke about groundskeepers, equipment managers, and volunteers who made youth baseball possible. This recognition of often overlooked contributors brought a proud smile to the face of Daphne Blair, who had served as the league's volunteer coordinator for over 2 decades. As the afternoon progressed, Elodie Hart, a parent who had been skeptical about her child's dedication to baseball, found herself reevaluating her stance. Cal's words about how the game builds character, teaches life lessons, and creates community resonated deeply with her concerns about modern youth development. The transformation of the event was particularly evident in how the audience began to interact. Georgia Wynn, a longtime league administrator, noticed how parents who normally kept to themselves were now engaging in conversations about Cal's message. The ceremony had become a catalyst for community connection. Harper Ellis, who coached the complex's youngest players, realized how Cal's message could change her approach to teaching the game. His emphasis on making baseball fun, while instilling important values, provided a blueprint for developing not just better players, but better people. The impact extended beyond the immediate audience. Isla Montgomery, who streamed local sports events online, saw her viewer count skyrocket as word spread about Cal's Remarkable speech. Comments poured in from former players and fans, each sharing how baseball's lessons had shaped their lives. Josie Vance, whose daughter had recently quit baseball after a difficult season, found herself taking notes on her phone. Cal's insights about perseverance and learning from failure offered a new perspective on helping young athletes navigate challenges. As the ceremony entered its final phase, the atmosphere had completely transformed. From the tense moments following Maddox's disrespectful comments, Kaya Whitmore, who had helped organize the event, marveled at how Cal had turned potential conflict into an opportunity for community growth and understanding. The young players present would never forget this day. Lillian Hale, who worked with the League's scholarship program, could see the impact in their faces. They had witnessed not just how to handle disrespect with grace, but how to transform difficult moments into opportunities for teaching and connection. Have you ever seen someone's wisdom and grace completely transform a difficult situation? Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. The story continues as Cal's impact ripples through the community, changing perspectives and touching lives in unexpected ways. 1 month after Cal Ripken Jr.'s unforgettable response to disrespect at the Hamilton Youth Sports Complex, the impact of his words continued to resonate throughout the community. On a bright Saturday morning, Magnolia Trent, the local newspaper's sports editor, sat in the same bleachers where the ceremony had taken place, watching as a new generation of players took the field with a noticeably different attitude toward the game. The physical changes to the complex were immediately visible. The newly installed plaque bore not just the field's new name, but also Cal's words about dedication and character. More significantly, Noel Sterling, who managed the complex's programs, reported a surge in youth participation. Parents and children alike were drawn to a program that now explicitly emphasized the values Cal had spoken about: perseverance, respect, and the joy of the game. Perhaps the most remarkable transformation had occurred in Ira Maddox himself. The tech entrepreneur, humbled by Cal's graceful response to his disrespect, had spent the past month working quietly with Odessa Blake to develop a scholarship program for underprivileged youth players. His focus had shifted from technology and statistics to ensuring every child had the opportunity to learn baseball's essential lessons. The impact on the young players was profound. Phoebe Clark, who coached the complex's junior league, noticed how her players now talked about Cal's message before every game. They reminded each other that showing up, giving their best effort, and supporting teammates mattered more than individual statistics or expensive equipment. The ripple effects spread beyond the baseball diamond. Quinn Avery, a local school principal, reported how students had begun applying Cal's lessons about respect and perseverance to their academic lives. Teachers observed a new understanding among students that character and consistent effort were the true measures of success. In the community room of the complex, now renamed the Character Development Center, Romalie Hayes conducted weekly sessions where players discussed the mental aspects of the game. The conversations frequently returned to Cal's words about handling pressure, overcoming challenges, and maintaining dignity in difficult situations. Serena Banks, who coordinated the complex's outreach programs, found herself overwhelmed with volunteers. People who had witnessed Cal's response to disrespect wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. The story had sparked a renewed interest in mentoring and supporting youth athletics. The press coverage had extended far beyond local news. Tamsin Clark's in-depth article about the ceremony and its aftermath had gone viral, touching readers across the country. Sports programs nationwide began incorporating Cal's message about character development into their coaching philosophies. Even the business community had been affected. Valerie Holt, president of the local Chamber of Commerce, shared how companies had started emphasizing reliability and Teamwork in their corporate values, directly inspired by Cal's words about showing up every day and being someone others could count on. The ceremony's unexpected moment of disrespect had transformed into a movement. Winnie Drake, who documented the complex's history, noted how the incident had become a turning point in the community's approach to youth sports. Parents and coaches now emphasized character development alongside athletic achievement. Zena Blair, who ran leadership workshops for young athletes, incorporated Cal's response into her curriculum. The incident provided a perfect case study in handling disrespect with grace and turning negative situations into opportunities for growth. The impact on youth baseball was particularly significant. Zinnia Carr, who coordinated regional tournaments, observed how teams had begun incorporating character building exercises into their practice routines. Coaches reported that players were more focused on personal growth than just winning games. The transformation extended to the complex's culture. Annalise Frost, who managed the facility's day-to-day operations, noticed how players, parents, and staff had begun treating each other with increased respect and consideration. The atmosphere had shifted from competitive to collaborative. Bridget Monroe, whose son played in the junior league, shared how Cal's message had changed their family discussions about sports. They now talked about building character through baseball rather than just achieving athletic success. Her son had started a journal to track his daily efforts and personal growth. The coaching staff had embraced the change wholeheartedly. Celeste Hayes developed a new training program that integrated Cal's teachings about perseverance and respect into regular practice sessions. Young players learned that mental strength and character were as important as physical skills. The complex's scholarship program, overseen by Delilah Green, had expanded significantly. Inspired by Cal's emphasis on making baseball accessible to all, local businesses had stepped up to ensure that no child was excluded from participating due to financial constraints. Estelle Vaughn, who specialized in sports psychology, conducted research on the program's impact. Her findings showed improved confidence, teamwork, and resilience among young players who had embraced Cal's message about character and dedication. The ceremony's plaque had become a gathering point before games. Fiona Hollis, who photographed local sports events, captured countless images of players touching the plaque for inspiration, reminiscent of how college football players tap motivational signs before taking the field. Giselle Brooks, responsible for the complex's community relations, reported that other sports facilities had begun requesting information about implementing similar character development programs. The impact of Cal's response to disrespect had grown far beyond one ceremony or one community. As the one-month mark approached, Hattie Quinn organized a follow-up event celebrating the changes at the complex. The gathering was markedly different from the original ceremony, more inclusive, more focused on community, and more aligned with baseball's timeless values. Young players who had witnessed Cal's response continued to share the story. Imogen Lee, who taught sports journalism at the local high school, had her students write about how the incident had changed their perspective on athletics and character. The complex had become a model for other youth sports programs. Juliet Vance, visiting from a neighboring state, spent a week studying how the facility had integrated character development into its baseball program. She left with a blueprint for transforming her own community's approach to youth sports. As the sun set on another day at the complex, Kendall Rivers, a veteran coach, watched his team practice with renewed purpose. The field was more than just a place to play baseball, it had become a classroom for life's most important lessons. Cal's response to disrespect had created a lasting legacy. The incident demonstrated how a moment of potential conflict could be transformed into an opportunity for teaching, growth, and community building. His grace under pressure had shown everyone present, and thousands more who would later hear the story, the true meaning of strength and character. Have you ever seen how one person's graceful response to disrespect can transform an entire community? Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. Remember, it's not the challenges we face that define us, but how we choose to respond to them.